Well, these coins from 2021 that everybody cast off after all the hoopla, they're not going to zero like people had prophesized 2 years ago. They're actually making an about face and they are doing extremely well out in the marketplace. Let's talk about the Morgan and Peace dollars of 2021, shall we? So, just to kind of a little bit of a market update. Yeah, the coins are ridiculous. Kind of like if we're going to talk about raw coins, all right, raw coins. In the original government packaging, the black square box with the certificate and all that stuff. The one kind of like taking the rear in all this, other than the customers back in 2021 with the dumb pre-sale event that the mint probably should have had no business doing in the first place. The P Mint coins, the Morgans, are up to 170. They're 170 to 180 consistently. And we'll talk a little bit about grades as well, because people are paying $170, $180 for the raw coin. And here's kind of like, what in the world are people thinking? All right, because the raw coins are that much. However, mid-state 69s, even if I could freaking find them, are selling for around that same price. All right, and mid-state 70s are going for $250. So there's really not a whole lot of room there. It's all kind of like all bottlenecked up together. And those, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I'm talking about first strike and first day of issue coins. All right, the ones that apparently matter to a number of collectors that buy into these things. Okay, so those are the P Mint coins. Now let's talk a little bit about what you guys want to talk about, the CCs. Because believe it or not, this is not the biggest performing coin in spite of that Carson City Privy mint mark. So where do we begin here? Now, the raw coins are doing exceptionally well. They're selling for $200 to $225. You guys remember when these coins came out and everybody was really soft on these things because for a myriad of issues? Oh, it took so long to get these, and here we are in the middle of the holiday season. I need the cash, and people were fire selling these things for around $90 to $120. Do you guys remember that? I remember that because it was, geez, not even 2 years ago. It was like a year and a half, So those coins that sold for next to nothing, all right, and the Carson Cities actually was the overperformer out of the bunch. At that price, because the other couple coins that we're going to talk about, they were actually the ones that were in the toilet, and now they're the most expensive coins out of the 5 that are currently available online. So raw, ungraded examples of the CC Privy Morgan dollars are currently trading for between $200 and $225. However, there are a few outliers here. There is one example that sold for $250 in the original government packaging. Let's see, any others here? There's a few. There's a lot of graded. People graded these things. But for the most part, we're seeing these. Here's one for $275, which was actually sold by a company called Cash for Coins on eBay. They're a CDN, coin dealer newsletter, for folks that don't know. Member, an exchange member as well. But as far as mid-state 69s, mid-state 69s are actually doing really well. They're selling for about $275 to $300. And in case you guys have been living under a rock, most people want the big dog mid-state 70s. So a mid-state 69 first strike is about $275 to $300. A comparable PCGS, that's PCGS by the way, PCGS graded mid-state 70s, I suppose. Let's see, kind of crazy for a non-first strike. They're at $275 to $300, same as a mid-state 69. So I don't know how or why you would even want to do that. But if we were going to go for NGC graded 70s, they're at $350. There's one that sold for $353 with 21 bids here recently. Let's see if we can find a PCGS graded first strike. No, first strike, another one at 69, sold for 300. $400. So we're at $400 for a mid-state 70 first strike PCGS graded coin. All right. So those are, the P mint, least spectacular. The CC mint is the one that was the one that everybody wanted because it's good old-fashioned Carson City mint, right? Old West. Although those weren't minted at the Carson City Mint. And neither is the New Orleans either. All right, well, New Orleans, let's see where we're at there. So this one is kind of a little bit on the low side as well, to where the P mint is. But you guys remember the O mints were some of the same examples that were being fire sold for around $100 to $125 right after release. And boy, it didn't take long. So now, raw examples are currently trading for about $175 to $180 for just one in original government packaging. If we were going to look at, say, mid-state 69s in NGC, with or without the first strike label, you're looking at about $150 to $175. So that one's a little bit cheaper. However, your gravy train is going to be on the mid-state 70s, where they are currently trading for between $325 and $350. So those coins in mid-state 70 first strike or first day of issue right after release or drop during the holidays 1.5 years ago, actually we're right around $250. So those aren't too bad. Those haven't moved up too much. And before we get into the big Morgan dollar, maybe it kind of makes a little bit of sense to talk a little bit about the peace dollar. So let me go ahead and type this in. It's the only one that I haven't put up on eBay yet. And this is the one that I loved so much. I love so much. You're probably asking yourself, why in the world are we talking about these? Well, like I had mentioned at the beginning of the video, everybody thought that these stupid things were going to go down to zero, and they're doing a quick about face. Now, here's a shocker. The peace dollar, one of the better ones as of right now, raw examples in the original government packaging are currently trading at $200 to $225 per coin. In contrast, mid-state 69s, let's see if we can find one around here. Believe it or not, there's not a ton of mid-state 69s. And, 70, there's a 69. About 225 to 250 for a mid-state 69, with or without the first strike. And then 70s, oh, mama 70s are really good. These ones are currently around $400, so like $375 to $400. Again, this coin right here, like a month or two after release, when people were sending these off to the graders, kind of bottomed out around 200 to two and a half for those 70 grades. So those have certainly jumped up, but the kind of like, I don't know, the black swan in all this is the Denver Mint coin, the least spectacular to a lot of people's eyes at first release. And one of the biggest things, and I heard a lot of you guys talk about it, myself included, I looked at these things, I'm like, man, these are trash. The quality on these were very, very suspect. And me personally, I ended up selling my two. And rightfully so. They had some stuff on there, like roller marks and scratches and all sorts of great stuff. It really didn't interest me too much to keep those coins. However, these Denvers, which by the way, they were minted at the Denver Mint. Any correlation there, ladies and gentlemen? Anyone? I don't know. These things are insane right now. The 2021 Denver Morgan dollars raw are trading, well, there's one here for $175. I saw a few of these. Another for $180, another one for $200. So the raw coins themselves, I have a theory as to why these particular coins are selling quite low. in spite of the graded coins, which are selling for so much. The actual mint quality on the Denver coins were trash. So 1.5 years later, a lot of people have graded these. They've graded the finest specimens out of all the ones that you can find. And all the ones that are currently left over, that are being kind of like hawked on the secondary market, people are assuming that those coins don't have the quality to make a 70 grade, which, in case you guys have been living under a rock with these things, I know I have for about the last year. I just, on a whim, checked it out, and I'll tell you why I checked it out. This one particular coin, in Mid State 70, has exploded to an all-time insane level. Now, people knew that the quality on these coins were total and utter trash. So the ones that did grade out, better than 68, better than 69, which people thought was pretty good, you know. But the ones that came back 70 after release turned out to be the big moneymaker out of the 5 coins. Those coins in Mid State 70 were like $500 to $600 after release. We're talking like 30, 45 days after release. So now I bet you guys are willing to kind of like wonder where we're at with this one. So here's the deal. NGC graded coins without first strike, they're currently hovering around $1,000. Right? Right? What? $1,000. There's one that sold on April 16th without first strike, without first day of issue. It's got a 100th anniversary, I guess, label, NGC, white bar slab doodad. Mid-State 69s, by the way, is an afterthought. They're selling for right around the price of a raw example at like $225. Miles will not even entertain that. But if we were going to look at more of the 70s, there was actually a PCGS example. Funny as it may seem, it says advanced release. I don't know how you could get that unless you got the coin like a week in advance. Right? Kind of makes sense. That was a Mid-State 70. It sold for $1,545. There was another example, not a first strike, PCGS graded, $908.88. I had to reread that one. Here's another one here. This one says first strike on the label, sold for $1,030 in auction with 23 bids. And here's another Mid-State 70 NGC graded coin, no first strike. That one's at $850. Here's a Mid-State 70 NGC graded first day of issue. Okay, that's kind of like the one you want there. $1,750. And here's another PCGS first strike label, about $1,100 for that one. But yeah, kind of crazy. There was even and this is how bad the quality was on these things. There was actually an example that had strike through error on both the obverse and reverse that was graded by NGC. It doesn't even have a numerical grade. It's like, here, throw this in the label or the holder, and then make sure you type out the error attribution on the label. They ended up selling that one for $2,699.90. Are you friggin' out of your mind with these things? So why is the market kind of exploding in all of these? I know, really, I want to know why. Maybe some of you do know. But the Denver Mint coins are kind of an anomaly. And the big reason why that I'm now bringing this up, other than the fact that I got a little bit curious, is that we have the upcoming 2023 coins that are going to be releasing this year. And I figured there's no better time to double down on this by talking about these ones that out of nowhere are going for just ridiculous amounts of money. All right. The raw coins especially is kind of a story in itself. You know, these things were not the darlings of the numismatic community. After people were very, very upset about the way that these things were sold from the mint, you know, with the pre-sale event and all this other garbage, and then when they got the coins, people didn't like them. It was just, it was one of those things. It was like a precipitous fall from grace. That's probably the best way that I could ever kind of describe what had happened here during the holiday season of 2021, which that was a poor timing right there. These things were dropping in like October, and it's like, oh shoot, man, Christmas is right around the corner. We had Thanksgiving. People were just really interested in getting rid of these things because they just did not like them. Now, here we are with another. I don't even know what you call it this year. Apparently, if they're going to make this a standard rotational item every single year, the same way that they do Silver Eagles every year and all that, you have to go back and look at what we call the quote unquote OG release. People are going to be looking at these 2021s as being the kind of like the standout innovating coins, even though these are anniversary coins for the same ones that existed 100 years ago. When it comes to like new bullion, which I feel like that these are going to be after a few years, people are going to look back and they're going to look at this 175,000 mintage on a few of these coins from the year, and they're just going to be blown away. Because you guys saw the mintages on the new ones coming out this year, right? 400,000, 250,000 for the reverse proofs. So they're going to look at these ones back here, and guess what's that going to happen, you know, with these small, minuscule mintages and crappy quality O mints and D mints. These things are going to go to the moon. And then all that talk about these things going to zero, like people had kind of prophesized a year and a half ago, turns out it's not true. All the while, the believers are going to come in, they're going to swoop in, buy some of these, and they're just going to sit on them, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. Kind of crazy to see this kind of activity. You guys can go on eBay yourself and check it out. I'm just not like talking out of the thin blue sky here with these things. These are actual realized sales within the last 48 hours. Wild stuff. If you got them, congratulations. Enjoy the cash.